Hi friends, today I'm going to read you a book called A Quiet Place, and it's written by Douglas Wood and it's illustrated by Dan Anderson. It's one of my favorite books because it is so helpful, at least for me, to find a quiet place in a world that is very busy and a world that can be very noisy. I just happen to be sitting in my quiet place. This is one of my favorite places in my house, and it's just a little corner. I think maybe it was supposed to be a closet, but whoever built the house didn't turn it into a closet, so it became my quiet place. And it has some of my favorite things in it, my favorite books. I love this book, When You Are Brave. And I think I read this one to you before on YouTube. It's called The Seed Who Was Afraid to Be Planted. So my quiet place has a lot of my favorite things, which are books and plants and pictures. Let me just give you a quick look at my quiet place, give you a tour of it. So you can see I have a desk and I have a window that I can look out. And somebody gave me this picture that is a special gift to me. They said they thought when I was young I probably looked like that little girl. I don't know if you can see, she has a little frog or toad in her hand, but I probably would have been friends with her when I was a little girl. And here is my picture of the poppies, and it has that nice little stream in the background. So a quiet place is a place that you can fill with the things that you like. I have pictures of my family, I have plants, and I come here every morning and every night, every day. Here's the first place I come after I go get my coffee. And I kind of liken it to a place where, just like a plant, I can grow or I can get ready for the day. So let's take a look at our grass pots that we grew. If you notice, there are a lot of roots, and this particular pot of grass is almost becoming root bound. And the green, fresh spring grass that is growing is only thriving because of the roots that were laid down. And I water it very frequently too, and I put it here in the sunshine. Here are some other plants that are growing, and you can see their roots. These are lettuce plants, and if you take a look, they are very root bound. So they're growing lush and they're growing green. I'll show you one more beautiful lush green lettuce row that I'm growing here in my window, and it also has some roots that are helping it to be strong and rooted. Those roots drink up water and the minerals from the soil, and that's what helps it grow strong and brave. So likewise, I come to my quiet place when I just need to take some deep breaths and put my thoughts back together and think my own thoughts and grow strong and brave inwardly, right? So that's why I love this book called A Quiet Place, because sometimes it is hard to quiet yourself in the noisy world. And when I come here first thing in the morning, it helps me to get into that green zone and that place where I'm calm and I'm feeling an inner strength and quietness. And then sometimes through the day, I can get kind of excited and very, very enthusiastic. And sometimes I will find myself in the yellow zone. And if I'm not careful with all that energy and excitement, I can maybe step into somebody else's personal space and they might go into the red zone, or I might get overly worked up or excited in my yellow zone and end up in this red zone. So a quiet place is a great place to help kind of calm you down and keep you in that green zone, right? So this book helps us come up with some ideas on how to find our quiet place. So I have one inside my house. I also have some in my backyard, and you can find some even at school. So here's some ideas on how to find your quiet place where you can grow roots and find balance again. Take a couple deep breaths and find that inner quiet calm and strength. A quiet place. By Douglas Wood, illustrated by Dan Anderson. Sometimes a person needs a quiet place. A quiet place to rest your ears from all the bells that are ringing and the whistles that are shrieking, the grown-ups that are talking, engines that are roaring, horns blaring, again the grown-ups that are talking, the radio's playing, and the grown-ups. Well, even grown-ups need a quiet place sometimes, but it can be hard to find a quiet place. You have to know where to look. The world can be so busy and noisy. Well, here's some ideas on how to find your quiet place. You could look under a bush, a lilac bush in your own backyard. When you can crawl underneath it, all the sounds of the world seem sort of soft and further away. And in that quiet place, you could pretend you were a pirate finding buried treasure on a desert island. A bush could be a great quiet place. A great place to pretend. Until someone calls you and says, "Come clean your room now." At that point, you could look in the woods and you might find an old stump for a chair or a mossy log for a couch in a green mansion of shadows and sunbeams. It's not really quiet, of course. Blue jays are screaming warnings and the wind is singing in the leaves, but it feels quiet, and you can be a timber wolf. You could pretend you're the gray ghost of the forest. The woods could be your quiet place. But if the woods are too deep and dark, you could look by the sea. You could go to the beach in the early morning fog, and your footprints would be the first footprints on the beach that day. And the waves would be roaring, and the seagulls would be crying. And it doesn't even seem noisy, though, in all that sound. You could pretend you were an explorer there, discovering a lost continent, and the beach could be your quiet place. But if the beach is not really your cup of tea, you could find yourself a pond and sit by that pond. Maybe there would be a heron by the shore, standing still as a branch, and the water might be so calm that it looks like a mirror, until a frog plops from a lily pond, and your face begins to wiggle, and you could be the world's greatest fisherman, reeling in a huge catch. A pond could be your quiet place. But if fishing isn't really your thing, or if the fish aren't biting, you could look into a cavern where every footstep echoes and the slow drip, drip of water builds new rocks that hang like icicles or stand like sculptures. Where days and nights and weeks and years are all the same, you could be a cave dweller in the lair of a saber-toothed tiger. A cave could be your quiet place. Unless it gets too cold and damp. And in that case, you could climb to the top of a hill. where clouds float by like ships, or alligators, or elephants. On a hilltop, you could see a long way and think long, slow thoughts about how and about what and about why. You could be a mountain climber. You could pretend to be on the top of the world. The hilltop could be your quiet place. But if your legs get too tired after climbing so high, you could visit a museum. And in that museum, you could find brass tigers and bronze lions. You could stand silent guard over fabulous treasures, because every painting is actually a magic window that your own imagination can open wide and climb right into. And you could be an artist, admiring your own masterpiece. A museum could be a quiet place. But if the museum is closed, you could go to a secret corner of your library where the only people talking are those people talking between the covers of a book. The book speaks so softly, you can only hear the words they're speaking, the author's speaking, in your head. And as you read about forests and oceans and deserts and caverns and museums and thousands of other things, a library could be your quiet place. But if the library and all the places books take you is closed, you could come home and you could clean your room just like you were asked to. And you could read your own books in your room and think your own thoughts and feel your own feelings and discover the very best quiet place of all. The one that's always there no matter where you go. That quiet place is the quiet place inside you.